Hi guys! Today we're making Daal Bengali style, or my style. So to start off with, you're going to need mosur dal, or I don't know, red, pink, yellow, whatever you want to call it. You can get it from any Indian store. You can also get it from Coles and the like. What you need to do is grab about a cup and a half. If you want a bit bigger, or if you making a bigger serving, or if you want to make it less liquidy, then you need about 2 cups, but this will feed about 5-6 people. So what I've done is I've just taken some of my lentils and I've just washed them, and make sure you wash them really thoroughly. You can see here that the water is quite diluted. You need to keep rinsing this out until the water is clear. You are also going to need half of a large white onion and 1 chili, and the other half of the onion and the chili I'm going to be using to do a tuna bhaji, which is the next video coming up. So click on the link in the description below and you can have a look at how I make tuna bhaji. What we're also going to need is, remember I told you guys I start and use kalo jeera in every dish, because it's sunnah of Rasul and also has a lot of health benefits. Look it up. I'm going to use ghee instead of oil, but you can use oil. But I like to use ghee for dal. It gives it a really nice flavor and aroma. Or you can use olive oil. We are going to be using pachfuron, or 5 spice, which looks like this. And we're going to be using shan dal masala, which I love. I think it has pretty much all of the spices, but I just like to make it a little spicier, so I add my own stuff. So I'll show you that. And of course, salt. With the shan masala, it's completely up to you. I personally just add a little more turmeric and a little more chili, just personal preference. Okay, so let's get started. In my saucepan, medium sized, I've put in my kalo jeera or black cumin seeds. I've put in a frozen cube of garlic, and I've put in my ghee, and I'm just going to let that start sizzling before I put in my onions and chili. So you hear that? Once it starts sizzling like that, you want to put in your onions and your chili. And at this stage, what I'm going to do is just start adding in my spices. So the pachfuron, the shan masala, I'm going to use just about a teaspoon, and half a teaspoon of holud or turmeric, and half a teaspoon of dhania or coriander powder. And I'm just going to let it all mix together. You want the onions to be almost a golden brown or a really dark brown before we add the lentils in. This is my shan dal masala. I've got a small spoon, so I'm adding 3 of these, but it equates to about one or 1.5 teaspoons, depending on how much you're making. Give it a good mix. And the reason you're doing this without adding any water is so that the spices cook through really thoroughly, because there's nothing worse than tasting raw spices. Keep going until it's a golden brown. If it's getting too much for you and it started sticking to the pan, you can add the teensiest bit of water and just let it all evaporate before you add the watery lentils. Otherwise, your onions and your spices are not going to be fragrant and roasted. Okay, at this point I just added a bit more 5 spice, and if I had any patience I'd wait a bit longer for the onion to fry a bit more, but I don't. So I'm going to add my lentils. I've drained the water, and I'm just going to dump it in. And what I want to do is fry the lentils for a little bit and then add in my water. My lentils in, you want to give it a really good stir and make sure all the spices are mixed in with the lentils. And then once the lentils have softened, you're going to add your hot, boiling or warm water. Don't add cold water to lentils. Pro tip from my mum: adding cold water to your lentils actually stops the cooking process and you'll end up with hard or half-cooked lentils. So the lentils have softened. At this point you're going to add your water, and depending on how you want to cook your lentils, that's the amount of water you're going to put in. If you want to do dal makhani, which you can get at Indian restaurants, or makha dal as we call it in Bangla, which is just enough water to soften the lentils and make it into sort of like a dal bhaji, then you're only going to add enough water to cover the lentils, and just make sure you're adding little bits of water at a time so it's not getting too watery. And if you're going to make Bengali dal, which is what I'm making, then just put in about 4 cups of water. And then what you want to do is turn the heat right down and let that simmer and cook away. And while we do that, I'm going to make a start on my tuna bhaji. Link is in the description if you want to go and have a look at that. Once your lentils are almost done, we need to add coriander. I don't have coriander, so I'm going to be adding parsley. You can add mint, you can add chives, you can add spring onions, bok choy, spinach, whatever your heart desires. You can also add tomatoes. Another variation, which we call aam dal, is to add green mangoes. It's a really great versatile dish that you can add anything to and personalize. Just don't add lettuce or kale. I tried those, that was pretty gross. Yeah, and that's it. Serve hot with bread or rice, and I'll show you the finished product in a minute. So I've added in my parsley and I've put the heat right down, and I'm just going to let this simmer covered until your lentils are completely melted and are really soft to the touch. And then that's it, it's ready to eat.